So with our lovely Miss P, ready, Pepper? Come. Good girl. So I wanted to warm up with a couple little find its, but then also touch base on sort of recall practice. So obviously it can be beneficial to get your puppy comfortable sometimes doing a drag lead or a training leash. That is, again, could be 15 to 20 feet is probably a good enough length. The reason I sometimes like to get the puppies comfortable with the leash kind of hanging out and just dragging is it gets them more fluid with this other piece of equipment nearby. If this was too overwhelming, I'd start off with no gear, like in the home or a safe bubble, and then build into dragging a regular 6-foot leash, and then you could drag a longer training lead. So ready, Pepper? Come. Good girl. So Miss P did get to do a little bit of play earlier with her girlfriend. Oh, she found a crumb. Good job, cuteness. Ready? So if I lose her, I'm just going to get a little closer, try to regain her attention, and then feed her for this closeness again. So with a longer training leash, what I like to do at times in a safe bubble is practice also getting familiar with the equipment as well. If your puppy is not as comfortable on something like this, you'd want to practice right there. Yes, nice job, cuteness. So I want Miss P to start thinking that when there is some connection with the gear, it means to come check in and get a little paycheck for doing so. So almost like we discussed with some leash pressure prior, where anytime she feels, oh my goodness, chewing, but anytime she feels a little bit of that pull on the gear because she's adding pull, I'd want to go ahead and feed for the moment she turns and pivots and heads back towards me. So ready? Pepper. She's like, hold up, there's only so many U-turns she wants to rock in a day. So she is a little bit tired. There were some funny noises earlier. There's been some lovely motorcycles driving by. Ready? Pepper. So if she's a little distracted, I might go a little closer to my lovely lady, see if I can get her hone in. Ready? Nice job, cuteness. So in the beginning, I like to warm up with some find it. Oh, gotta chew them first. Almost got it. Oh my goodness. So the reason I like to rock a couple find its is it gets your puppy able to go out and about, get distracted, and get them to reorient back to you from that sort of section off in the distance. So again, we might do another little find it, get her off to go check out that snack. And then I know there's another little crumb that she missed, but she's almost found it. And that's right, Pepper, come. Nice, good girl. So again, when working this, I'd only do as many reps as your puppy can tolerate. If they're getting a little bit overwhelmed, do shorter little moments for success, and then build in more duration as she's feeling more cozy. So again, Pepper, come. If I wasn't certain that my pup was going to do well, I wouldn't keep asking for the recall word. So if I've got a feeling she's not going to respond because she's overwhelmed, she heard a funny noise, whatever might be going on, I'm not going to constantly say the cue word and have her lose out on the meaning. Nice. Or start to have it be where when things are really hard, we can't respond to the word anyway, and it might start to, again, become sort of that negative association. So right here, I'm just going to do a lovely little find it. If, let's say, my puppy didn't respond, so let's say I said her name, said the C word, nothing happened, I would simply be able to walk down my leash a little further, keep her from going further away, and then lure her back into my space after saying maybe that word again, come or here once more. But I do recommend only say about 2 recalls, and then you might be done. So because if your puppy's really struggling, you don't want to keep repeating yourself, or again, like I mentioned earlier, you could lose it on the meaning, Pepper, come. Or she might start to think maybe 15 recalls equal check-in. So we want to make sure, just keep it easy, make sure it's attainable. So right there, beautiful little find it. Pepper, come. Yes, what a good girl. So she's doing a really nice job. Ready? Find it. Of course, it helps that they get sticky to your fingers and sometimes get a little stuck. Ready? Pepper, come. What a good girl. So tickly, did it tickle your bum? So you might find too, practice both. So the reason I like to sometimes do both is just to get her comfortable having at times the gear on and other times gear off. If your yard is not fenced in or it's not a safe place to let her be off leash, you may want to practice a little bit in maybe the home front, get these kind of concepts down, and then build in some of that difficulty. Ready? So we'll do another little find it. So a few recall rules to think about as well is you don't want to pair recall with the end of fun. So let's say your puppy was doing a splendid job coming when called from outside back into the home. Your pup might start to view that recall starts to equal the game or the fun outside magically ends. Every time we get called, we go back into the house. So we want to be careful about making recalls be the end of the game or the end of fun. So maybe you might call her 2, 3, 4, 5 times and then send her away for those times she does check in. You feed for the response for the recall, but then you send her back out in the yard to have fun again. And maybe on the 6th recall, you go back into the house. Ready, Pepper, come? Yes. If, let's say, your puppy can do an amazing, let's say, 15 recalls, I wouldn't do 15 every time. You could maybe rock 2, maybe another day, maybe 5. But if every time we're rocking 15, she might start to think recalls is kind of like boot camp, and maybe she's not a huge fan of working so hard all the time, and it becomes more of a chore than a fun adventure. Ready? You could also sometimes rotate through, again, a few other skills, give her a little breather or some decompression time, and then do a few more reps if she's able. Oh my goodness, chewing. Ready? We'll get a little sit. Such a smart girl. But her comfort range has definitely gotten so much more fluid. She came running right in to have a good time today. But again, a couple other recall rules to remember are, again, don't make it the end of the game or the end of fun, but also don't pair it with something scary. So if, let's say, she was scared of doing nail time or whatever it might be, eye drops or whatever she has, is if, again, we're not working on cooperative care, which I would highly recommend cooperative care with Deb Jones as a Facebook group to check out. She also has an ebook as well as hard book as well. But the benefit of doing cooperative care is that we're trying to help your pup be part of the process for either vet visits, medical care, or grooming needs. I know I had mentioned bringing my scratch board, and of course I completely forgot to bring it today, but I'll bring it for Thursday so she can maybe give it a try, because I had mentioned how one of my boys does a really good job with the scratch board for his claws. Nice job, cuteness. So again, making sure that if, let's say, she was scared of eardrops or eye drops, if we were to say, hey, you, and then come as we're holding the spooky thing, or we say come and then we do the eardrops, we're now pairing the recall could equal danger or something overwhelming from her perspective. So if we were to do that often, ready, Pepper, then what can happen, she's getting tired, is what can happen is now your puppy might start to pair eardrops or eye drops or whatever it might be that they find, again, a bit more overwhelming than good, is then that has been paired with a recall. So when you call them the next time, could it equal eardrops? I'm not sure. Maybe I won't come when called. So we don't want to pair it with spooky. We also don't want to get upset when the dog finally does make their way to us. So if, let's say, the dog got away, they hopped out, they went romping through the woods or into the, let's say, the roadway, and we get upset because, oh my gosh, you almost didn't make it. If we get mad at them when they finally do come back to us, even though we're upset at the situation or what maybe could have happened, your babe will start to think that you're upset just with them straight up. And then they might think, well, when I come when called, sometimes it's overwhelming. Pepper says she wants to go back to the other side because that's where all her chews are. Ready? Pepperoo. You want to come check in? So if she's a little bit lost, I'm going to, again, go to her, kind of lure her into the space. Nice job, cuteness. She just said all her cool things are on the other side, and this is where not all of her lovely chews and her goodies from home are hanging out on this end. Ready? There is some machinery noises too going on, and she's gotten much more fluid and comfortable. She's a lot more, has a nice bounce back from the novelty, which is great. Ready? So if, again, we got upset when the puppy finally came to us, even though they missed every car on Route 2, if we get upset, oh my goodness, if we get upset, they're going to think it's for coming when called, not because of what they just did prior. So we do want to be careful that how we act and engage with our puppies, they won't understand you're mad because they didn't recall the 1st or the 15th time. They're going to think that you're mad because they finally did come to you. So don't ever scold the pups. You might sweetly be like, mommy's going to strangle you in the car. Obviously not. But if you're very frustrated, try to remain calm whenever possible, because a lot of times we have a hard time even with our emotions as well. So we got some funny noises from my neighbors. So right here, I might go, yes, and then do a lovely little find it right there for her. So with Miss P, if you're working with some of these recall moments, you can definitely do this in the home where she's feeling most comfortable, in little bits of the yard where she feels, again, home comfy wise, and then build up to different bubbles depending on her abilities for the day. Nice job, cuteness. But is it stuck in your jowls? It's awful. But we're getting some really beautiful behavior from our lovely Miss P. And a lot of really great check-ins. So like before, had those noises happened prior, she would have been all the way back to trying to get to her bubble again. So the fact that she's now staying out on this main floor and working her big girl skills is very, very impressive. So I'm also making sure the rate of reinforcement is at a level she finds reinforcing for the difficulty of this work. So I know we've discussed it in class. Make sure your food has value to your babe depending on the workload. If it's the exact same paycheck for something easy peasy and really hard, getting the same paycheck for both is going to be where she may not do as well for more difficult things. So make sure, hi cuteness, that the paycheck is equivalent of the difficulty of the job. But she's doing a really good job. So we're going to practice a little bit, a few other skills in just a moment, but we'll give her a break from these lovely recalls. And she says, please bring me some of my snacks again. But good job, Miss P.